Hey, what's good, everybody? It is me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you are listening to a brand new episode of the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks show with me and my co-host, Rebellious D. How you doing today, brother?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. How are you, Banks?
I'm doing fine, man. It is Sunday, and I am so happy that we are reviewing today Stargirl, which is a show that you recommended to me. You highly praised it, and after I watched the first episode, I was hooked, and I got done with it pretty fast. So thank you again, D, for recommending that to me. Like I said, we're going to be reviewing Stargirl Season 1 today. But before we get into that, make sure that you like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure that you share this video if you enjoy it, so that way more people can find out about your boys at the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks podcast.
Yeah, so make sure give us a thumbs up, everybody.
Yes, thumbs up. Do. Those thumbs up, they really help. They help pay the bills.
Yes, they do.
Yep. So, D, you ready to go ahead and start this rodeo?
Yeah, man. Lead us off.
All right, let's go ahead and get into it. So, Stargirl, when it was announced back in 2019, it was supposed to be not HBO Max, but a DCU exclusive, along with Swamp Thing. I remember when it was announced, and I kind of wasn't looking forward to it. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I was still going to check it out, but I wasn't sold on it like that. And then when it was announced on the CW, because the DC app pretty much merged with HBO Max and Swamp Thing got canceled. Swamp Thing came out before Stargirl, and it was already announced that it had got canceled. So that was another reason why I was just like, well, I'm not too iffy on Stargirl, because if one show got canceled, why would I check out another show if it's a possibility that it might get canceled? So when it got added to the CW, I remember the announcement. I still didn't check it out because I was burnt out on the Arrowverse stuff. We've talked about this before, where it's like sometimes the Arrowverse stuff can just be dragging in a way. And I'm just happy that you recommended it to me. You checked it out. You said that it was good. And that's why we're doing today's review. So Stargirl has 13 episodes. Hour-long episodes. It's already been renewed for a season 2 because it's gotten so many positive reviews. And D, I just want to ask you, what led you to checking out this show and then praising it and then recommending it to me and Trav to watch?
Well, Banks, I was happy to see it. I was really excited for Swamp Thing. First and foremost, and I was sad to hear that it got canceled. I'm not sure, the surrounding story about that cancellation, but Stargirl and Swamp Thing, I thought were fresh titles for DC to kind of revitalize, what they have on the CW going on. I knew a little bit about the Justice Society, and I thought it was fun. They don't get a lot of spotlight anywhere outside of Jay Garrett, really. And it was fun, man. It was new characters to watch instead of the, like you were saying, CW got kind of stale with the Arrowverse. We knew what we were getting out of that, and the Flash. We know what we're getting out of that show, and this was a good take on it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like you said with the Arrowverse, like, it has its pros and it has its cons. Yeah. We were introduced to Stargirl in the Arrowverse on Legends of Tomorrow. Yeah. And this was in a different timeline and a different, I believe it was still in the Arrowverse timeline, but we were introduced to the Stargirl up there. She was a much older one. And on this series, in the Arrowverse at least, when a hero dies in the Justice Society in that verse, like whatever powers they had or whatnot, it gets passed down a generation or sometimes to a second generation, as we saw in Legends of Tomorrow, where I can't remember the character's name, but he's the Steel guy. I'm so mad I can't remember his name. It's been so long since I watched Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's been a while for me too. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, but remember, it's like his grandfather was the Steel hero in his time, and then it skipped his dad, and then he got the ability.
Yeah.
So when Stargirl starts, we're introduced to the Justice Society of America versus the Injustice Society of America.
Yep.
And it takes place on Christmas Eve. And the Justice Society of America, they end up saving the world, but in the process, everybody's killed. We're introduced to the members of the Injustice Society who they outpower the Justice Society, the JSA. They outpower them. Starman, who is the leader of the JSA and pretty much the most powerful member of the team, he ends up getting killed by Icicle. And we also see Solomon Grundy, and I thought that was cool. The first time that we saw Solomon Grundy, now D, I don't know if he made an appearance on Smallville, but the first time we saw him in live action was in Gotham. And
correct.
I really wasn't a fan of the Solomon Grundy on that show. It's like, it was cool because it was Gotham's version of Solomon Grundy, but when I think of Solomon Grundy, I think of like this monster type being, like this zombie, and like this huge thing. And like that's what they did on this show with the animation, which the animation for this show was amazing. Like the budget that this show had, when I tell y'all that this was made for DC, the DCU app and HBO Max, coming to the CW, like this is the best animation that a CW show has ever had. Do you agree, D?
Oh yeah. Yep. No, hey, hands down. I will say that over time, the Flash, like, think that they're a big jump. Well, I'm not sure how much of a budget change, but from Flash season 1 to Flash season 2, you could tell like the cosmetics and things like that, they increased from season to season as well. But hands down, Stargirl looks a lot better.
Yeah, 100% agree, man.
Yeah, man.
So we're introduced to Starman's sidekick, Pat, who goes by Stripes, and he's racing to get to the JSA. And when he gets there, he sees that they did what they needed to do, but most of the members got killed except Starman, who he was able to rescue. But Starman was dying at the time, and he tells Pat that, hey, take my staff and make sure that the next person that has it is a hero, somebody that's dependable, somebody that's reliable, somebody that's not like you. Because Pat, he had that smile on his face. He was just like, I'm about to be the next Starman. And Starman was just like, no,
not you.
And so then somewhere else at Christmas in the 80s, we're introduced to Courtney, who is a little girl, and she's waiting for her father to come home to visit on Christmas. And that's pretty much how the story starts. He doesn't show up, and we're led to believe later on that Starman was Courtney's father, which we do eventually find out that he's not her father. Her real father is an asshole. He's a jerk. He doesn't care about Courtney.
Correct.
And that was the reason why Barbara, Courtney's mom, didn't want Courtney to meet her father, because she left him for a reason. And Courtney this entire time tried to, explain to her mother that Starman was her father and his real name was Sylvester, and the name that her real father was using was just a cover name. And I was so happy when, Courtney, she finally meets her father, and she sees the type of person that he is, and he lies to her. He's just like, yeah, you can come visit me and whatnot. And Pat's just like, nah, you're not coming back into her life. And that's the one thing that I love about Pat and Courtney's relationship, because of course Pat is her stepfather. And when the series started, I was led to believe that the reason why Pat got with Courtney's mom, Barbara, was because it was Starman's ex-wife, and he just wanted to be with her so that way that he could protect over Courtney and Barbara. But as the show goes on, we find out that that's not the case. Barbara and Pat, they just end up meeting at a diner, and they're in Nebraska, right, D?
Yes.
Yeah, they end up meeting in a diner, because in Nebraska is where the Injustice Society of America is rumored to be. So they end up there and whatnot, and the relationship between Courtney and Pat, it starts off rocky at first, but as the series moves along, they come to love each other, they come to care for each other. And I just love that dynamic, because as somebody who grew up without a father in their life, I can say that I could feel where Courtney was coming from with her dad, because it's like, he comes back into the life after all these years. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was a deadbeat dad, and now he's just like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to spend time together. And it's like, how many times do we see that with single parent homes where the father comes back? Most of the time it is the father, and like they promise all these changes only to take them away or not stay committed to it, because that's a lot of times my father would do that. He would come back into my life, make these promises, and then he would just go ghost.
Yeah.
So D, like, how did you feel about the relationship between Courtney and Pat and how it blossomed over the series?
I love Pat as a character. Courtney's not bad, but she's super stubborn and wants to be right all the time. And Pat knows, so he can't like tell her no repeatedly. And then he finally has his breaking point where he has to yell at the kids and get them both in line, his son as well. But yep. Courtney and Pat's dynamic is very well done, and I like the growth of it. It really does blossom, like you said, and they start to work as a team. Yep. Like she's taking up the mantle, and he's kind of like the segue sidekick. Yeah. Like he's passing the torch, and he gets to be the sidekick and watch the progression of it. So that's cool.
Yeah, and then another thing that I wanted to bring up too is because Stargirl, like I was saying earlier about like seeing Stargirl in media and whatnot, she is a character who we really didn't see in a lot of stuff. I want to say the first thing that I had ever seen her in was Justice League Unlimited, along with Stripes, and they were minor characters on that show, but they did get one episode that was dedicated to the minor characters. And I will say that on that episode, like, I became a small fan of them because I thought that they were cool, but it wasn't like a big enough push for me to want to check them out. So I appreciate this show, and I appreciate DC taking these chances on smaller characters and making them into bigger characters, because the same thing with Marvel, like they do the same exact thing, like Guardians of the Galaxy, for example. Yeah, I didn't even know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were until the movie came out, and now they're household names. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. When that movie came out, like the sales went up for the comics. They had to make new comics and make the characters in the comics look more similar to the feel and the vibes that the characters from the movie were giving off, so pinkies up to DC for taking risk and coming out with this Stargirl series. And something else that I wanted to touch back on that you said, where Courtney, she's stubborn. We see this throughout the entire series, and it's like, I understand she gets picked up out of her life in LA and has to move to Nebraska, the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And it's like, as the series progresses, we see how she can be with her friends that she meets in this show. She starts going to Blue Valley High, and she's the new girl there, the head of the cheerleader team. She wants her to join the cheerleader team because she just looked at Courtney and was just like, you'd make a perfect cheerleader, which Courtney, she technically would. She was heavily into gymnastics growing up, so she would be perfect for that position. But because she doesn't have any friends and she does stick up for herself because of her stubbornness and whatnot, she is considered an outcast at the school. So that's when she's introduced to her friends and the potential new members of the JSA. And they're all social outcasts, and they all have their own backstories to why they're social outcasts. It's like they're not like your typical losers or anything like that. They're at that table for a reason. So D, I'll let you go ahead and do a little breakdown on the 4 members of the new JSA, and then I'll just follow up behind you with that.
Okay, so we have Beth, then you have, I can't think of their names off the top, Banks.
I can give you the names. You have Yolanda, Beth, Rick,
Yolanda, Beth, and
Rick.
Who's the last one?
Rick.
Yep. And basically Rick was the one who was the son of Owlman.
Yep.
And he's my favorite character. He's one of them, but very cool power, very cool concept to the ability. Then you have Yolanda. Rick is basically an outsider. Let's go ahead and clear that up right now. Yeah. Rick's an outsider. Basically, he's looked down on. He's being raised by his father's brother, his uncle, which doesn't give two damns about him really. Yep. And he just kind of got forced onto him, and he wasn't happy with it. Then you have Yolanda, who was dating the villain's sons, and she becomes a new wild. Yep, Henry, and she becomes the new with the new heroes, and she's Wildcat,
Yep.
which I really like it because it actually has a background in boxing. And then you have Beth, who was basically nerdy.
Yeah.
Didn't really have, her parents really didn't pay her any mind. They're busy at work all the time, and she becomes the new
Dr. Midnight.
Dr. Midnight, yeah. So very cool. I mean, they all have really cool abilities and equipment. So, Banks, do you have a favorite? And what are your thoughts on all the characters?
My favorite character was Yolanda, and the reason why she was my favorite character was because when we're introduced to her, the jocks, they come to the table and they're like, do you have any pictures that you want to show us? And everybody pretty much calls her a slut. They slut shame her for something that she did, that she was betrayed. Like, she was dating Henry, who is Brainstorm's, I believe, Brainwave, I'm sorry.
Brainwave, yep.
Yeah, Henry, who is Brainwave's son. And he pretty much tricked her because what is her name? Cindy, who is the head of the cheerleading team, it's later revealed that she is the Dragon King's daughter. And she's been living for a long time, and she has powers and all this stuff too. So she's pretty much the HBIC at the high school. And what happens is Henry, he's dating Yolanda, and she's the popular girl in school. She's running for class president and whatnot. And he sends her a message one night and is just like, hey, can you send me some pictures of yourself? And she ends up, sending him a nude photo because she trusted him. She was in love with him. The relationship that they had, it was just built so strong from the time being. And he betrayed her, like at the rally at the school where she was giving her speech for why she should become the president of the school. Cindy, she sent everybody in the school the photo of her topless, and that pretty much ruined her image. It destroyed her reputation. It hurt her family's reputation. It hurt whatever businesses the family had going on, and they pretty much hate her because what happened. You know what I'm saying? And I understand why the parents would be mad, because their daughter took photos of herself, and I'm just one of those type of guys. I don't like nudes. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
it's kind of weird.
If somebody sends them my way, like I'm fine with it, but I'm not really a fan of nudes, because it's like, you just never know. You know what I'm saying? You never know what might happen. And how many times do we see, like several years ago, where celebrities' phones got hacked and then their nudes were leaked to the world?
Oh yeah, all over the place, man.
So Yolanda, she was somebody that I really loved her growth. Like how you had brought up, she was a boxer, and the reason why she was a boxer was because she needed to take out that rage out on something, because she was betrayed by the man that she loved, which we later find out that Cindy pushed him to doing that, and it was just all a setup to embarrass her and knock her down 20 pegs, if I can say
because
so.
she was leaps and bounds ahead of them, is even in the races and popularity and things. So I found it's got a lot of interesting dynamics to this story compared to some of the other DCs, for example. Now that we're actually getting into it, it's got a lot of like character development all over the place, not just one character. So
I agree with you on that. And just to also touch up on Beth, I liked her character too, because she was, like you said, she was lonely. She didn't have any friends. The only friends that she had were her parents, and all she did, she just cooked for them. She would go visit them at work and whatnot. And she finally gets a friend in the original Dr. Midnight's Goggles. And like she told Courtney, like, this is somebody that I can talk to. They laugh at my jokes. We're learning so much about each other. And like, that was her first real friend. She does become friends with Yolanda, Courtney, and Rick. But this was somebody who she could talk to whenever, if she was sad, if she was happy. And this computer cared about her. It was pretty much like Jarvis from
I was just about to say that. It's like a more sarcastic Jarvis, basically.
I liked all the characters. I originally thought that how this show was gonna go was that in Nebraska, like somehow all of the not all of the kids, but like Courtney was gonna kind of go out on this adventure, which she did once she took the equipment from the old JSA building. And I felt like she was gonna find the descendants of the JSA, but then we find out that Rick, he's our man's son, and then Yolanda and Beth, they're just kids at school that pretty much just need friends. And I'm happy too with Yolanda, where it's like she finally got her voice back. You know what I'm saying? She stood up. She stood up for herself to her parents. You know, she apologized. But again, I understand why her parents feel this way, and I really hope in season 2 that something happens along the way where you know, the parents and her whole family, like, they just open up to her and like they understand, like, hey, it wasn't your fault. You know, you're stronger now. You're better. And
I think it might be a situation where character growth, and it may be like a time comes where she has to use her newfound powers to protect her family. And then it's kind of like a rite of passage or an acceptance, like, okay, you've made good on what you did wrong, you know. We're able to see past that because of what you're doing now.
I completely agree with you, man. Something else that I wanted to bring up was how what I loved about this show, because I've talked about this on The Flash before and other Arrowverse shows, how the heroes, like their relatives or their love interests, they find out about who they are like on the first episode or early on. And the one thing that I loved was that nobody knew about Courtney and Pat's secret until it got to like the final 3 episodes. And I kind of felt bad for Pat's son Mike, because he was seeing Pat and Courtney spend all this time together, and he's just like, hey, that's my dad, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, y'all have all these secrets and everything, like, I want to know what's going on. And then same thing with Barbara. She finally finds out what's going on because she sees the staff and everything, and like Pat, he wants to tell her the truth. Courtney's just like, no, we shouldn't tell her. And you know, this is my wife, like, I need to be honest with her and let her know, because Courtney, she ends up getting, you know, roughed up pretty bad when she fights Cindy, after Cindy is now like, hey, I want to use my abilities and I want to be a part of the ISU and I want to help you, Dad. And her dad is just like, no, I'm not going to allow you to do it. You know, you're my greatest creation. You just need to wait your time. But his greatest creation kicks Stargirl's ass, you know?
Plain and simple.
You know, also something else that I wanted to touch on, because this was something that we saw in the second episode, the character Joey Zurich, he is the son of Wizard, who is William Zurich, and he ends up getting killed in the second episode because, as we find out more about that the Injustice Society is in Nebraska, it's kind of like after they killed the Justice Society, they just all lived a normal life, but it's like they still had their powers and whatnot, and they were setting up this big massive plan to create a new America where they were the rulers of the world pretty much. And it's kind of crazy too, because when you look at the Injustice Society of America and like how they are, like you have the gambler, who is pretty much the tech genius, and like he can hack whatever type of software in the world. Then you have Sportsmaster, who is a phenomenal athlete and like hand-to-hand combat. I believe that that's somebody that I've seen Batman tangle with before. And he's very similar to Taskmaster. Yes.
Except he doesn't like absorb your I think Taskmaster, it's muscle memory. Is what it is.
And then his wife Tigress, who is an assassin, she's just as good. She's just as good as Sportsmaster. I had already mentioned Brainwave, who is Henry's father, and he can read minds and whatnot. So it's like he's the key to the puzzle in order to take over the world after they finally have the machine built and whatnot.
Exactly.
Who else do we have? We have the principal, who is Anaya Bowen, who is the wife of the former Fiddler. And she really doesn't do much real, because she ends up getting killed at near the end of the series. I was hoping that we would see more with her, but I feel like, you know, her part was just making sure that everything took place at the school, because they end up using the football field as the source,
the massive satellite.
And the massive satellite. So I mean, she did have a part, but she wasn't a fighter. She wasn't skilled or anything. She was only a skilled violinist. The Dragon King, who was somebody who has been around since the 1930s.
Yeah, super creepy character. Super creepy.
He's the only person who we do not see what he really looks like now in the present day. And that's something too about this show that I love. I love how every episode starts off with a flashback that explains why the characters are where they are, like why this villain did this, why this hero did that. Like this show, like the development, the story, the characters, like 10 out of 10. Like, and then the music, like every episode has like a fire opening song, and and then even throughout the episode, like you have songs from like the classics to 90s, early 2000s, even newer music. So I highly recommend this show. Something else that I wanted to touch on, like I was talking about with Joey before I started snowballing on the other villains, I believe like he ends up getting killed by Icicle. Courtney and Stripes, they fight Icicle. I believe it's in the second episode. And what ends up happening is they end up beating him because they caught him off guard. Like pretty much both parties, they didn't know anything about each other. Icicle was surprised that Starman, or the new Starman, Stargirl, was a thing now. And when Stargirl ends up beating him, he lands on a bridge where there's a school bus. He freezes the bridge, and on the school bus are a bunch of the kids that go to Blue Valley High. Blue Valley High. Just making sure. I didn't want to mix it up with Valley High from Cobra Kai.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's why I had to look real quick. But yeah, so they're on the bus. He freezes the bridge. The bus is falling off of the bridge. You get your classic, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, where it's like something has to be done to save all the kids on the bridge. Pat ends up coming and his new giant machine, which is the Stripe. He's not Stripes anymore, and he saves all the kids. All the kids are waiting for everybody to get there, like the authorities, paramedics, to see who needs help. And Joey, who is a magician, because his father is the wizard, he walks in front of a car because Icicle does something that leads him on.
He made black ice on the road.
Yeah, he made black ice, but remember, like I believe Joey was holding his card or something, and I believe Icicle he breathed, or he blew his breath, and it made he made Joey's card go where a car was, and
and then it hits the black ice, and then it takes Joey out.
And I just have a feeling that Joey is going to return in season 2. D, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but the black cat that his mother has, like, I don't believe that they had a cat. Oh no, yeah, that's right, they did have a cat. Never mind. So yeah, he's dead. I forgot that they had a cat.
Cat was him?
I thought he was a cat. I mean, hey, it's a possibility because
he is a magician.
He is a magician, and as we see with the Injustice Society of America, like their kids have powers. Just like I said with Cindy, she's the Dragon King's daughter. She has she's pretty much like
maybe he hit a Professor Professor X and put his consciousness into the cat last moment.
I didn't even think about that.
It's very interesting to open up the season with one of their whole families getting taken out. It just seems like that seems like they play on that a little bit more. Not to just get rid of one of the members like that, like off the gate, like his whole family. I don't think so.
But that also shows you like how fearsome that Icicle is.
Oh yeah, that guy doesn't play. He don't play no games.
Whose real name is Jordan McKent. And one of the things too that I like about this series is, like how I was saying, how the Injustice Society of America, they're just living normal lives as normal civilians, but it's like all of the roles that they have, they're in top roles in the city that they're in. And it's like the character, like the villains on this show, it's like they're fantastic. Like I also like the fact that there weren't any like your villain of the week thrown in there. You know what I'm saying? It's like
I think, and that's why it's a fresh take. You got a team on a team. Usually it's one bad guy and it's strung out along 12 episodes or so. how are they going to beat this guy? But this time it's a whole team.
Yep.
And I actually like the fact that since we're here on the villains, I like the fact that there's different levels to their villainy. You know, like Icicle. That guy doesn't play any games.
Yep.
All right. Then what's his name? The Dragon Doctor?
The Dragon King.
Dragon King.
Yeah.
He's super evil. Then you have Brainwave is super evil, but then you get Tigress and Sportsmaster, and they're just kind of like lackeys. They're just kind of like they're strong, but they're just kind of there.
Yeah.
You know. Then you get the Gambler. He's just kind of there. So it's fun.
Everybody plays their parts because, like I said,
exactly.
Like the Gambler, he's the tech guy. So
yep.
He wouldn't be out there in the fields, but then
he's a low life because he littered. Remember, he littered in that one episode, and they told him to pick that up.
And then you have like you said, Tigress and Sportsmaster. Those are the people that they send to get their hands dirty.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because Sportsmaster, whose real name is Lawrence Crusher Croc, he runs the gym in the town. And when Pat meets him, it's just crazy because it's like they don't know who's the villain and who's the heroes. And Pat takes up a membership at the gym, and Crusher, like, he's training Pat. He's telling him what he needs to eat, what he needs to drink, how he needs to work out and whatnot, only to find out that Pat is Stripes later on.
Yeah.
So it's just the whole dynamic of the heroes and villains knowing each other and meeting each other is really interesting. Mm-hmm. And it's something too to touch on, D, what you were saying about Icicle, like, because he had killed the entire family like right at the start of the season, and we just see like how evil these villains are, like what you were saying with the levels of the villains, because Brainwave, we find out that he killed his wife in a swimming pool, and later on he kills his son Henry because Henry starts getting powers as well. Also too, same thing with Icicle's son, he starts getting powers as well. So the touchback on Henry, Brainwave, he kills Henry, and just to see like how evil he is, it's just a whatever it takes attitude. Like the mission comes first, just like how I always joke about the podcast comes first. The mission comes first, and he kills his son. And I love Henry's redemption story because like once he gets his powers, he can start reading minds, and he can read Yolanda's mind and like see that like she's hurt because he betrayed her, and before he dies, he apologizes to her and says that he always loved her and that he wished that he didn't do what he had did, but he was put up to it. It was peer pressure. You know what I'm saying?
Peer pressure.
Think about it. It's just like if he didn't do what Cindy told him to do, what would have happened to him? He would have been a social outcast as well. He would have probably lost his spot on the football team, all of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Oh, we forgot about the janitor, Shining Knight.
Oh, the Shining Knight. Can't leave him out. I was so happy to see him and people like Vigilante get a little shout out. I hope that he comes up somewhere because those two were pretty cool. They got some shine on the Justice League Unlimited cartoon back in the day. So I can't wait, man. I think it's very fun what they're doing now. Like I said, fresh take finally.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And like I was saying earlier about the rest of the family finding out that they were superheroes, it was a good feeling for Mike to finally be in on everything because he was left out. He he didn't know anything, and we got to give pinkies up to Mike too because he dealt the final blow to Icicle, and like it was just so awesome. Because like they told him, they was just like, just stay at the house and watch the dog. And he was just like, I'm gonna get my moment. And he got that moment where Icicle, he was standing up in the street, he was powering up, he was about to take out Stargirl, and because he turned his whole body into ice, you have Mike, he's driving the truck, and bam, he hit
him,
and got him. And sorry, I didn't mean to yell like that. But
that crit damage.
It was crazy how it happened because it's like I didn't see that happening, so and then also too with Barbara, she's using her expertise because she ended up doing her research to find out about Starman and find out about the Justice Society of America and all this stuff. And I'm happy that her and Pat ended up staying together because once she found out about everything, she was ready to call it quits with him because he lied and he put Courtney in danger. So I'm happy that they're a team that knows everything that's going on. I hope that, when season 2 comes out, that it's just as good as season 1. Like, I feel like nothing needs to be changed about how they do everything on the show. Like, I hope that there is no villain of the week. I just want to keep on seeing character development. I definitely think that we're going to see character development with the children of the Injustice Society of America, because I'm sure that they're going to want revenge. And also too, something that I forgot to mention was Henry, when he finds out, you know, he looks at all of his father's tapes and whatnot, because his father, he ends up getting put in a coma in the first episode after Stargirl and Stripes end up fighting him. And I believe it was the first or the second episode.
I think it was an episode.
And after this, when he awakes from the coma later on in the season, he forgets everything that happens. It's like he becomes like a loving father again. And Henry, he loves that. But then it's like, as soon as he gets out of that coma and everybody finds out that he's awoke now, then Justice Society, they come swoop in, they restore his memories, and like that's what leads to them killing Henry. But before Henry dies, he finds out that Starman is the brother of Henry's mother. And so before Courtney finds out that who her real father is, it's like they think that they're cousins, because she thinks that Starman is her father. And like that was just a pretty interesting take on how, you know, Henry tried to redeem himself, and like Courtney, she's just one of those people where she believes that everybody is redeemable and that everybody can, you know, make changes to become better. And that's the one thing that I love about her, and that's what makes her a great hero. As the show goes on, she becomes a good hero. Her stubbornness goes away as time goes on, because remember, early on, she was just ready to get out there and fight the bad guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Pat was just like, no, like, remember what happened on y'all's first mission? Like, y'all almost died, because it's like nobody was listening. Nobody was sticking together. Everybody was going their separate ways. You had Rick, who finds out that Solomon Grundy was the person that killed his mom and dad. So he had all that built up rage. And I was so happy when him and Solomon Grundy fight, and he whooped Solomon Grundy's ass. And you know, it was good that he finally did what he needed to do. And I was happy that he didn't kill Grundy, because at the end of the day, Grundy was only doing what he was made to do. You know what I'm saying? And plus he's mindless. So so it's like, if you tell him to do something, like what Rick told him, he said, just leave and never come back. Grundy looked at him and he just went on his way. So hopefully Grundy does get an intelligence. He grows some like a brain or something, because I mean, when we were younger, we would see Solomon Grundy in cartoons and whatnot,
and he would kind of do his thing.
Yeah, he was able to talk. Like he was able to think on certain things. So hopefully, if we do see him in the future, he's still going to be a villain regardless. But
of course,
hopefully, like, he has dialogue this time. And with that being said, I think that's pretty much it. I think we covered.
I did have a couple questions for you.
Oh, go ahead. I was rambling,
man. I know. It's okay. It's okay. Hey, the conference is good. What's the rule on the pod, man?
Keep it going.
Keep it going. First and foremost, did you have a favorite moment throughout season 1? That's question 1, Banks.
Ooh, favorite moments. Man. I'm trying to think. Was there a jaw-dropping moment that I had?
Even a cool fight scene.
Definitely when Courtney and Cindy were fighting in the gymnasium. I thought that was pretty dope. I feel like that was like the best hand-to-hand combat.
Me personally, when they were split up, I think it's in the same instant, but you got Our Man outside fighting Sportsmaster, and he's just giving it to him. It was very, very cool to see him using all the different like tools, sports equipment. He was like hitting the balls at him and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. If
I had to choose a favorite moment, it was probably when all of the team came together and, you know, they were no longer outcasts, because like there were times where I felt bad for Beth because she was lonely and she didn't have any friends, and then like she finally met these people. And same thing with Yolanda and Rick. It's kind of like if Courtney would have never came along, then they would still be in the predicaments that they were in before she came. And for all we know, like Yolanda, she could have took her life because she was depressed.
Oh yeah, dude. That,
you know what I'm saying?
It gets pretty dark for all of them.
Yeah. And then,
I mean, Rick probably would have been a drunk.
Yeah, like he was saying with Rick, like he was staying with his abusive uncle. You know,
that guy was a prick.
Yeah, so that's probably my favorite moment is when the team came together, and when they were whooping ass in the season finale, and that because it's just they were unified. You know what I'm saying? Like that whole fight scene, they were just all together. They knew that they had a mission that they had to accomplish. It was built up to this point so far, and like I said early on, they weren't a cohesive unit, but by the end, they had a mission. They had to save the world, and I was happy that nobody died.
Yeah. Yep. So next one for you. Favorite villain, favorite hero.
Favorite hero. It's like, man, I know the people that are watching this, they're probably gonna say, it's like, dang, man, like get off of Yolanda. But yeah, Yolanda Wildcat.
Okay.
She's my favorite hero, man, because I just love her redemption story, man.
Yeah, like, I like it.
I just it's like it's the perfect comeback because I just felt so bad for her. Like I felt for her when those people was calling her a slut. I felt for her
yeah, man, that
people were
pretty bad.
Snickering and then having to go through the whole ordeal with her family, man. So it's like that she was my favorite hero, and plus, I mean, like I like Wildcat. Just seeing him.
Yeah, Wildcat's a pretty cool character too.
Yeah, just seeing him on the Batman Brave and the Bold show, and,
Justice
League Unlimited. Yeah. You know, I always like Wildcat.
Sweet character.
Yeah. So
and your villain?
That's my favorite hero. Favorite villain? I probably have to go. I mean, it's gonna sound funny.
They're all kind of cool. So
probably the Gambler because when I think of the Gambler, I think of the song "The Gambler" by I'm mad I can't. What's the artist's name? I'm mad I can't remember.
I can't remember it.
You got to know when the whole Kenny Rogers. There we go.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Kenny Rogers.
Like, he even kind of favors Kenny Rogers in a way, and I like how he doesn't have any powers, but like he keeps that small gun. Right,
yeah, but he's always but he's very valuable piece on the puzzle. Yes. They can't just discard him, and that plays into what you're saying. He doesn't have any powers, but he's a valuable piece.
Yes, and I just thought it was funny, like when Courtney and her friends, when they first fight them at the building that he's at, and before they get there, he's just like, all right, it's time to do some hacking, but before I get to that, let's play some music. And then they start playing Timber by Pitbull and Kesha, and I was just like, okay, like this is catchy. And then they played it at the end of the episode. So yeah, Gambler was definitely my favorite. For you, who was your favorite hero and villain?
That's pretty simple. Give me Our Man, because Rick's dope. And villain, give me Sportsmaster, man.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, bro, you've been talking about him this entire episode. Yeah, so
he's cool, man.
I feel like, we talk about the people that we really like the most a lot in
this
episode.
I mean, it's pretty cool. I love what they're doing with it. I just think the show overall was a breath of fresh air in the DC universe. And I mean, like I said, the fight with Sportsmaster and Our Man outside versus I think it's Sportsmaster and Tigress versus Wildcat and Our Man.
Yeah.
No, Dr. Midnight's with them too.
Yeah.
They just couldn't do anything.
She's the only person on the team that doesn't have any fighting experience, which I do hope improves on season 2. And also too, she lost her goggles at the end of season 1, so I'm assuming that she'll get those back in season 2 somehow.
Yeah. Well, last thing before you close us out, do you have any predictions for season 2? Anything you want to see happen? Or
I'm glad that you asked that. Like I already said earlier, like I just want the show to keep on moving how it's going to go. I do think that the villains' kids are going to form a new Injustice Society of America to get revenge. We were also introduced to the villain that's going to be in season 2, the Shade. He appears at the end of the season, and the reason why he wasn't a part of the team, the Injustice Society of America, was because he thought that the plan was going to be a flop, which it ended up being. It was a flop. So I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to see some of the newer villains that we're going to see, because when you think about the Justice Society of America and the Injustice Society of America, these are like big teams, And with there being big teams, there are always going to be people who aren't going to always be there. Kind of like how Jay Garrick and Green Lantern were a part of the Justice Society of America in this universe. But we don't see them because we know that Jay Garrick, he ends up eventually going to Earth 1 in the Flash. And then now he's in Earth 3 because Earth 3 needed a Flash there, I believe. So yeah, so I do think that we're going to see Jay Garrick. And also too, I looked up if this show was going to be a part of the Arrowverse, because I remember when we talked off the pod or talked off of, you know, this review episode. I said that I thought that Stargirl's universe was going to be a part of their universe, of the Arrowverse, because of what happened in Crisis on Infinite Earths. But when I looked it up, Stargirl is on Earth 2. It's not on Earth 1. And it's a new version of Earth 2. So there's a possibility that we might see Jay Garrick, we might see the Green Lantern up there. And I'd love it. That's pretty much what I want to see. And they also said that there's a possibility of a crossover with the Flash and Supergirl and whatnot. I know the actress who plays Courtney / Stargirl, she said that she would love to do something with Supergirl. And I know that Supergirl is wrapping up its final season. So now that both shows are on the same network, we might see that crossover where
it's more likely.
Yeah, where Courtney goes to Earth 1 or something. I mean, you already know. Every year the CW does the crossover event. So we might see the JSA join the Justice League, because the Justice League is in the Arrowverse now. And I mean, like, it would be cool. So those are the predictions that I would love to see. How about you?
The only thing that I for, and the Shade's a pretty cool villain first and foremost, and can't wait to see what they're going to do with the junior. I'm going to call them the junior ISA for now, until they come up with another name for themselves. But I think you're spot on with that. And I would really like to see them add Vigilante to the show at some capacity. Maybe bring a old school gunslinger in there. Yeah. They have the effects to pull off, you know. I think it'd be really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, hey,
that's it.
Hey, good predictions on what you're hoping to see.
Man. You too.
Thank you. But yeah, with that being said, that's it. I hope that everybody enjoyed this review and they go and check out Stargirl. Again, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. That's what I give it. I can't wait until season 2. And again, like I said early on in the video, please make sure that you subscribe, like, and share, so that way you helping us out here at the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks team. And
that's right.
With that being said, D, tell them where they can find you at in social media land.
You can find me at rebellious_D23 at Instagram.com.
Baby. And you can find me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me on Facebook by typing in Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. And make sure that you follow all of the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks social media accounts at Leveling Up Banks. Make sure that you check out our podcast, Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, where we release episodes every Tuesday, brand new, brand spanking new. And,
that's right.
Also, if you're feeling generous and would love to donate to us, we have a Patreon, and it's at Leveling Up Banks. So again, thank you for checking out our review, listening to us ramble on. And if you have seen the show, let us know in the comments what you liked about the show and what you didn't like. I really hope that we don't hear a lot of people saying what they don't like, because honestly, I don't feel like that there was anything wrong with the show at all. And just let us know in the comments.
Please leave your comments if you guys have any input or your opinions, anything.
Yeah, we love to hear, and
we'll answer back.
Yeah, I'll stay on social media, so don't
leave
us hanging. With that being said, we'll see you next time. Until then, make sure you keep your pinkies up. Peace.